Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. In today's story, OP walks in on his wife on the couch with his neighbor very close to her rubbing lotion on her belly. It seems incredibly intimate, and although the wife does try to play it off and so does the neighbor, things quickly go downhill from there. I do hope that you enjoy the story. If you do, please leave a thumbs up. And I just wanted to take a second and thank everyone who's subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much. You guys are the ones that keep me going. And for those of you that don't know, I have a personal goal to reach 1,000 subscribers. So if you like my content and would like to support me, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and on to the story. I, a 29-year-old male, caught my wife, a 27-year-old female, letting our male neighbor rub lotion on her pregnant stomach. This literally happened this morning. I'm posting it here and hoping to vent and maybe get some perspective because I've been extremely upset all day and I can't process this productively. My wife is 8 months pregnant with our child. We live next to another married couple who's in their late 30s. I don't like the guy. I found him to be invasive and the weird type of friendly that almost seems to be prying and clingy. I'm not sure if that's clouding my judgment here or if this has validated my beliefs about him. I left for work, decided on the way there that I just wasn't feeling it and called off. I stopped for breakfast before heading home to surprise my wife. 40 minutes, tops. I get home, enter from the back door, and here's my wife and my neighbor sitting in our living room on the couch. She's turned towards him, fully clothed but with her shirt pulled up over her very pregnant stomach, while he, facing her, is rubbing lotion on her stomach with both hands. They both freeze before my wife asks how come I was back and then said, quote-unquote, his name stopped by to borrow the toolbox while I was moisturizing and wanted to know if he could feel the baby, so I said okay. I told him to get out before I put him out and he left immediately. I tried to stay calm and talk to her and get the whole story. Neighbor's wife is apparently infertile. First I heard of it, which is amazing considering the guy never shuts up about his personal woes, and he wanted to feel the baby. That's her story and she's sticking to it. That's not good enough for me. My thought process is there's a big effing difference between feeling a baby for 10 seconds and coming into our home and rubbing lotion on my wife's stomach. If it was some close friend of ours, I might understand. But I dislike the guy and my wife has never expressed any sort of closeness to him aside from passing pleasantries. And she's not the type to let anyone she isn't close to put their hands on her. So in the span of a day, the guy goes from being a distant acquaintance of her at best to her deciding to invite him in and let him rub her. I also find it convenient that he showed up that early, right after I went to work, very shortly after his own wife also left for work. And he's never came over asking to borrow anything of mine before, yet 9:30ish in the morning and he urgently needs a toolbox. I don't believe my wife. This is the first time my trust in her hasn't been strong enough. I don't believe her story because it makes no sense. When I told her I'd be mentioning this to his wife, she was adamant I don't, as to not quote-unquote make more of it than it is. If it was innocent, what more is there to make? And even if nothing more is going on, I'm not okay with what I've seen. I'm not okay with him rubbing my unborn child in my home without me there. I know it's her body and her choice, but I'm not okay with this. It'd be one thing to feel the baby kick, but he was sitting reclined comfortably on our sofa, rubbing lotion on her with both leaned into their private conversation. I'm trying really hard to figure out how to express the fact that I don't believe her story without causing stress that'd be dangerous to her or the baby. I don't want to pick a fight with her at this stage of her pregnancy, but at the same time my mind is spinning and I'm not cool with what happened. Any advice would be appreciated. This will be my only update, and I'm only posting it due to the amount of support I've gotten as well as the numerous requests to do so. I didn't expect the response I got, and I've unfortunately seen it referenced on other subreddits, so I'm choosing to confront it. Most of you were right. Congratulations. I read through all of your replies and spoke to friends and stewed for a day. My wife stuck to her story, apologized for making me uncomfortable, and assured me that it wouldn't happen again. The neighbor decided to leave her handwritten note in the mailbox, specifically apologizing as well. I still didn't feel better, and the consensus was that I should speak to my neighbor's wife, who we're going to call Sally, so that's what I did. I watched my neighbor leave for work, then called my mother-in-law to come take my wife for a lunch and a girls' date so that she could get out of the house. I left as usual for work, called off again, and went to stay with a friend. I got a text from my wife around noon telling me that she was with the mother-in-law and would be back by dinner. Went home and knocked on Sally's door. The neighbor decided to tell Sally that I had kicked him out and caused a scene about not wanting either of them speaking to us anymore because I was pissed about him, quote-unquote, helping my wife. Come to find out, both Sally and the neighbor have been going over to my house while I was away busy for the past few weeks, as my wife had approached her and asked if they would be willing to lend in a hand with chores she could no longer do alone. Sometimes Sally went over and did small tasks or just hung out, sometimes both, and sometimes just the neighbor. Wife told her I knew and was fine with it, and that's why she was confused when her husband told her about me being mad. She showed me where she texted my wife, she has her number, not mine, to clarify and ask if she was welcome over, and my wife hasn't replied. Since I don't often see Sally or socialize with him, she just assumed her husband was telling the truth. She also admitted that she noticed that the neighbor and my wife becoming fast friends and figured it was due to the pregnancy, but thought it was his way of dealing with their own inability to have kids, so she wrote it off. I told her what I walked in on. I told her about the tools, which ended up being a lie too. We both came to the same conclusions. We both cried, both hugged for the first time, both took turns denying and accepting and talking each other down. We took a walk around the blocks together and conspired. She plans to call neighbor at work and say that my wife messaged her confessing to the two of them having an affair, and see what happens. I then went back to my friends and started having major panic attacks thinking that I'd effed up. I was about to ruin my marriage, worrying I might be wrong. A bit later, I get a call from my wife screaming at me to find a way to leave work and come home. So I go home. The neighbor apparently called her, telling her what Sally told him. She told me I was crazy, that I was a horrible person, and that she was considering leaving me, everything. Having a panic attack thinking I just ruined my entire life over nothing while also trying to calm her down for the baby's sake. I impulsively told her that if she was leaving, I'd still be requesting a DNA test. And that's when it all came down. Her entire tone changed. Pleading, begging, apologizing, hyperventilating, holding me, asking me how I found out while denying anything happened. I told her I'd be okay and asked her if she'd talk to me if we went for a drive. She agreed. I took us to a parking lot and we talked. I told her if there was any chance of anything happening, she needed to tell me what was happening because I already knew a lot. She then told me that she'd slept with the neighbor a handful of times before she became pregnant. Our baby might not be ours. The neighbor had been coming by and doing daddy duties once in a blue moon, quote-unquote, in case it's his. They haven't slept together in months. She said that we could move away, that it's ours no matter what, that he had manipulated her. She then admitted that she lied to Sally to justify the neighbor coming over for daddy duties. I asked her if she'd stay with mother-in-law for a few days while I calmed down. She agreed, took her home, packed up some of the stuff and dropped her off. I've cleaned out my essentials and I'm in a friend's basement. Friend called her on my behalf and told her that if the baby is mine, I'll be dealing with it. If it isn't, it's on her, but either way I'll be filing for divorce. My friends took my phone from me and deleted my social media. She's been calling my friends. Friends told her to F off. I spoke to my boss and he's been very understanding. Last I heard from Sally, the neighbor hadn't been home and stopped responding to her calls and texts. I have nothing left. In less than a week, my life has fallen apart. The only thing keeping me here is the small chance that the baby's mine. I have nothing else. I woke up today disappointed I woke up at all. I've never felt this alone and I haven't accepted any of it yet. I'm praying for the first time in my life that I can stop feeling this way and find strength. Thank you all for the incredibly kind words. Even those of you who are doubting me took the time to weigh in. I'm not sure what else I can do to verify my story without revealing any more personal information that I have. So while I'm aware that nothing ever happens on the internet, you'll have to take my word for it. Or don't. I'm honestly not sure where to go from here. I feel sick, I feel jittery. I want to confront them both and scream, but I don't want to leave the couch. I know that time plays a big role, but I'm worried about my ability to deal with how I'm feeling right now for too much longer. I'm worried about how this is going to affect me mentally in the long term. I'm trying not to drink. She was a person I used to go to when I was at my lowest, and I'll never have that support again. I'm terrified I won't have the child I've already come to love. This feels more like a death than the end of the marriage. It feels incredibly hopeless right now, like a part of me is missing. I appreciate everyone that's offered to let me vent and check up on me. Despite trolls and the rep the subreddit gets over the r/that happened crowd, the overwhelming majority of you are amazing. I'm going to take a break from the internet for my own sanity, but the well wishes have been a help. If there's any reason to celebrate in the future, I'll share it with you all. I don't know if anyone will remember my original posts, as they were deleted and I've yet to be informed of why, even after messaging the mod team. I don't know if this will be deleted either. If anyone wants, they can use removed it to see the posts if they aren't visible from my profile. I'm still getting messages on a regular basis for an update, so this is the final one. Extremely long story made slightly less long. A week after my last update, my soon-to-be ex-wife had our child, which I was at the hospital for. I'm the father. The first few weeks after my last update were incredibly difficult, with both family and friends on both sides adding to the drama. Thankfully, I've had an overwhelming amount of support from not only from the vast majority of people I know in my personal life, but also all of you as well. My wife and I agreed to sit down and discuss things after she was discharged, in my wife's basement with my friends upstairs, just in case I needed the support. She came over and we basically said everything we needed to say. I exploded and said a lot of mean stuff, most of which I regret and some I don't. She spent the whole time apologizing and begging me to take her back and give our family a chance to survive everything that's happened. Went on about an hour like this until I accepted that there was nothing left to say and I have zero romantic love for her anymore, and she accepted that we needed to focus on our daughter above all else. We're agreeing to figure out a custody split amicably and to eventually co-parent more actively together when wounds heal, but our marriage is over. She has the potential to be a wonderful mother, but she failed me as a wife. And my sole focus right now is how to get myself mentally to where I need to be the best father possible. We plan to eventually sell the home, but right now I'm staying in an apartment. Sally is leaving the neighbor. He's apparently staying with his mother and still refuses to speak to Sally directly. According to her, the last thing that was passed along to her is that he understands what he did. He's sorry he hurt her. He loves her and won't contest a divorce. She's struggling to handle everything and lacks a support system, so we're developing a friendship. Mostly two wounded people leaning on each other, and I'm doing my best. She plans to start therapy too. And no, I don't plan to be anything more than platonic friends with Sally. She's a lovely woman, but no. I still haven't fully processed my new role as a parent. I think mentally I've already convinced myself my child wouldn't be mine in case it ended up that way. I plan to take classes and spend more times with my daughter doing early bonding. I'm terrified but very happy. I know there's a lot left to do and a lot of hurting left to go through, but I'm stable and a dad, and that's what matters the most. So guys, what did you think about this? Please let me know in the comments down below. I personally am very icked out by OP's ex-wife and the neighbor. Like, okay, so you had an affair, but instead of hiding it, you're literally parading the person who you had an affair with right in front of your partner. Like, the audacity of that. I feel like you have to lack extreme amounts of empathy to be able to do that. And also, they were pretty much caught red-handed by OP and yet still decided to deny everything and gaslight OP. I think that's horrible. I'm so glad that OP got out of that relationship, and I'm so glad that he's happy with the baby and looking forward to his life. I wish him and his daughter the best. I do hope that you enjoyed this story. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.